It's like 100% dark. I wanted to share some of the outside world. Well, let's see. Let's see here. Maybe I turn off my light. Hi, Flasher. Yeah, I can see you. Pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, hi, kitty. I can't really see it. We probably could, because it's fine. It's over here. Yeah, we'll just listen to that. Interesting. Right. It'd be cool just to, this was, I wanted to talk, but I wanted to have the sky too. I have to hold this, but that's actually not that bad. So, one of the things that is important about the message that I have for everyone from God, literally, that's the whole deal. Is that, and what's interesting is to be led by God to find the story that of your life in the Bible, already written, already discussing what you yourself came up with, and your game plan, and then your situation, and then your testimony, and then other people's confessions, all hidden in there for you to find. This is what my situation has been. And it talks about this woman, well, this person actually, hold on. It talks about this person that's going to show up at the end to help bring in God's kingdom, like just like it says it's supposed to be for. And that this person lets the people out of the prisons, lets the people out of the dark, leads people in a way they haven't seen before. Right? It also talks about there's two witnesses that are applicable. It talks about talks about the two witnesses. It talks about down here. I have to have it up here. Talks about the two witnesses. It talks about two beasts. It talks about Adam and Eve. It's got this dual nature thing going for it. Well, my daughter and I represent the original mother and daughter of ancient Egypt. We're talking Hathor and Isis like stuff. God spelled Eve in the sky. God has spelled Isis. I have been spoken to by Thoth, which his name actually is most likely pronounced Tutukwi. But I have a recording of it. I also have a recording of the same voice saying Atanak, and a recording of the voice saying Gadown. Gadown. I've been sealed multiple times on my arms. The Sadiq has been placed on me. You'll have to excuse me, I've got whitener strips on my teeth, but anyway. What I'm looking at in the sky for is because it talks about it in the Bible, okay? We're talking about the bringer of the light. But the Bible, the way that it's translated, is not translated in the truth. It's been swapped out. It's a swap story, that Bible, with all the men and the women have been taken out of the story. That's a swap story. That's not the truth. In fact, God requires, makes a vessel so that the vessel can carry God's bloodline. It's a third strand. Third cord is the strongest, right? Super awesome. I love the way that the light is doing that. I've been able to move the screen, or it's moved before, like when I put it in front of the camera. So anyway, I'm practicing. I'm doing science, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing science. Interesting. So it's an important deal for everybody to know. First of all, there's a swap story in the Bible. There's nothing, it's not an argument like, well, you can have your beliefs, I can have mine. It's like, no, but you're not getting it. To even try to discuss the Bible is a scholarly conversation. So if you're going to go there, well, I'm just here to tell you there's fraud in it and forgery, just so you know. I mean, if you want to have if you want to fight for it, fucking feel free. That's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is there's truth coming. God's kingdom is all about truth. And why? Well, because truth resonates with a certain frequency. And that's the whole key. It's not about, having, you can believe whatever you want to believe. That's not the point. The point is about truth right now. You can live in La La Land if you want, but I mean, God wants us all to have God and to know what God is and not what God isn't. The fraud and forgery is an insult to God in all truth, especially with how foul they've made it. They've made it so foul with the sacrifice and the blood atonement. That's Satan worshiping, guys. That is not God. That is an insult to God. Well, it's also an insult that man took God's vessel as a hostage. Vessel that God created so that God could have a child in the living flesh. And man took that vessel and made her his slave. And that's what's been going on since the beginning. And that's an insult to God. You see? An insult to God. But that's not something we're here to like beat the men up about. It's just about bringing in God's kingdom and correcting things and calibrating them accordingly. That's all. And so there's a reason for that too, because everybody's had to learn their own lesson about how far their soul can go when passing through the darkness. But God wants us to know what life is like when you're in central source, when you have God, when you're in the source of light, the difference of life when you're in the source versus when you're in the absence of source. And what it is for is to make you want to live in source light. It's to teach you the lesson that we want to remain light beings, but it's your frequency that'll keep you there. That's what the whole first lesson is. The first lesson is get that shit out of your system, that fruit of the tree of evil, so that you can understand how to get that out of your system. Because now we're going to learn about the importance of our frequency. And if you fall out of the right frequency, you won't stick around. And so that's why we're going to have the orbs here to help us stay in our best mood and our best zone and our best foot forward. It's all about abundance and sitting pretty. This we're entering into the next cycle of evolution. This first one has been 17 billion years, according to them. It means this was like the carnal evolution cycle of materializing. And now we're going we're adding a component. There you go. It's the third and the fifth. Correct. So we're going from the fourth dimension, which is time, down to the third with the fifth layer added on top of it. It's like a Shangri-La type of layer. And it's important that we understand that. We're shifting dimensions. We're entering into the living waters. And the living waters is where it's all at. The living waters is the source light. That's where the information is. That's where the cleansing of our energies comes from. It's awesome. it's central sphere, and it's like headquarters. So this is happening. We're approaching it like around the corner. And the thing is that, okay, so there's forgery in the Bible. Literally, there's a swap story in the Bible. My analysis determined that the story that starts with Abraham and Sarah stopping by Egypt and telling some lie that really wasn't a lie, but it was a lie nonetheless. Tell them that you're my sister, because they were actually married, but they were actually half brother and sister. But whatever. Why would Abraham, first of all, want to lie? Like, they knew at that time that if a man, like that a beautiful woman, if she wasn't married, would be taken as to belong to someone else. So telling the Pharaoh that she was his sister was a certainty to make her for her to end up in a harem. But even though we're talking, this is the swap story. The real pharaohs of ancient Egypt, this is not what was going on. The Bible's full of forgery. It's a bullshit hate game against Egypt because, in fact, as far as I can tell, Moses and Aaron, when Moses took the people hostage, the Pharaoh didn't say you couldn't take them. This guy comes back after 7 years after killing a guy who Moses was raised as like one of their own, but it was an adopted boy that was running down the river. If the Pharaoh of Egypt was the one that was after the firstborn sons, why would the Pharaoh's daughter be able to bring one in that she just found at the river? I mean, I'm pretty sure that if back then that's what they did, is they came after your firstborn sons, that finding children rolling down the river would have been a commonality thing. So if that's what the Pharaoh wanted to do, the daughter wouldn't have been able to bring her in. And that's what happened apparently in the story. Moses was raised in the Pharaoh's house, and he kills a guy, takes off for 7 years. He comes back talking crazy, give me my people. Mind you, the people had already been there for hundreds of years. People had already been there for 100 years. And what's that? Well, Joseph's family, Joseph was gifted, and Joseph's jealous family beat him up to the point of death and then basically sold him off to some passersby that were headed towards Egypt. Well, what ended up happening with Joseph? Joseph ended up making it to the right-hand man of the Pharaoh, and even sent word back to them who were having a famine over there that the Pharaoh invited Joseph to invite his whole family. They sent a caravan to go get him. Bring him back, gave him the choice land in Goshen, land of milk and honey. That's when they received their inheritance that they were going to get. They were there for hundreds of years. Thing is that they didn't eat meat, so you couldn't sacrifice an animal in their area. You can't do it in. We didn't kill animals. They lied. They make it sound like it's all about slaughter. No. They think that they make it sound like an altar is for killing things. No. Everybody needs a table, for crying the fuck out loud. That's why the story says they had to leave. They go, we got to go. It's for religious purpose. We got to go worship our God. Right. You mean you got to go kill an animal because you're hungry for meat. That's it. Just be honest. So, no, Moses came back talking like a crazy person, demanding his people. And the Pharaoh's like, what the fuck? You know? And, I mean, how did they get the provisions to make this first time, like, meal? That's a pretty intense instructions you got there. And that was the first time that they got to do it. Well, now, why? First of all, this leavened bread thing. What's the deal with leavened bread? Well, remember, they need a woman that makes a good dough. That uses the leaven, which is what? Makes it fuller, inflates it, right? Makes it go around, actually. You can feed more mouths with it. Well, so unleavened bread. Well, why would they have unleavened bread? I'll tell you why. Because from what I've determined, the whole blood of X on the door, that satanic story, is basically saying, we did it. What's that? We killed the mother and we took the daughters. That's what it was all about. They took the daughters and they killed the mother. That's why the mother was gone. The daughter didn't know how to make leavened bread. So that's that all about. And that's what I determined. Isaac, the child of Abraham and Sarah. Sarah said she wanted a child, and she was an old lady when God gave it to her. So that was, first of all, then that was God's child. But God's children are girls, because they're vessels that can carry the bloodline of God and pass it to another female, who will pass it to another female. That's the story of like Zeus and the mermaids. It's the bloodline of the mother. So just so you know, Isaac was not a boy. Isaac was a girl. And so the bullshit story is, God had to stop him from killing the kid. Because that's what their nonsense narrative is. And so he found a ram to do it. What's a ram? A mother. So he killed the mother. In other words, Isaac was a girl. He stole. Isaac killed Sarah. I believe that and that's why that whole trickery of Esau and Jacob. The story in the Bible is all about following the lineage of women, but it's a swap story. It's been swapped out. And they just forget about mentioning the whole rape and murder thing. Satan worship. I believe that the Ark of the Covenant was stolen by Moses and Aaron. The Ark of the Covenant belongs to Egypt. And these guys are using it for their own power purposes. Well, it says the story of the parting of the Red Sea. Okay, so somehow Aaron shows up with the, who's Aaron? It sounded like Aaron was an intelligence, right? But it wasn't his brother. It was from this Ark of the Covenant. This whole story, going up to the mountain, he didn't want to go in the first place, and God's all, no, you're not. I mean, it's a hilarious story. The bush starts going, hey, it's me, orale, hey. Moses finally goes over there, and God tells him, you're going to do this, A couple days later, I think it's like 40 days later, or something like that. Right? Comes back, he's got some stone, comes down off the mountain, and he sees them worshiping and he gets so angry, he breaks this tablet that's got the special writing on it. No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And again, no, that story is full of absolute violence. It is a violent story. Okay, so that's been Satan worship. The imposter god. The serpent of the dominion of the dark. Absence of central source. God hasn't been here. That's what the whole story in Genesis is about. They got kicked out of the garden. And God says, go there. Well, in reality, we're finishing up Revelation here and headed towards Genesis. When we're entering into the gates, as long as your frequency's in the right spot. Otherwise, you won't be able to enter into the gate. And it's talking about meddling with the midst of the garden. Talking about meddling with the genetic code, the atomic code, the intelligence code. So people that are like addicted to this world and all this research and all this so-called wannabe technological advancements that are not really advancements. They're just putting us back. Their frequency is not in the right place. They're not making it. Wait, let's see here. So religiously, we need to clear up some nonsense. We got to clear up some nonsense from the religious fraud that's been going on for a long time. Because a lot of people believe in it wholeheartedly, and it's because of their culture that they're die hard about it, and that's like what happened. They every culture made themselves die hard about it, and that's not necessary. Like, there is no God of war. And by the way, in Revelation, when it talks about Satan being released and he go gathering up the nations to make war against the nations or whatever, the word war actually means take a stand. And of course, war, take a stand. One side against the other. Okay, well, who's the two sides? Okay, well, the two sides are God's kingdom, and the other side is man's kingdom that man's not willing to let go of. Even though it's been prophesied about and he's known about it all along and he preaches like he knows, he doesn't actually. He's been trying to kill God the whole entire time, which is why he's been trying to kill God's vessel and Christ's daughter. And man has done it the whole entire time. And it was prophesied that would take place until the end. And here's the end. The end is the truth. Where Jesus is not born a boy, because the woman doesn't have her head up a man's ass this time. This time, this mother gave birth to a daughter like she was supposed to. Just like it says in John 3:16. God loved the universe that God made a vessel to put its monogene into, so that the one that believes in it and loves it, returns the love that I've given into this vessel, will have eternal life. It's talking about the mother to the daughter. The eternal life will come through your progeny, your evolution. And they've been trying to kill us. They've got us sequestered and silenced, and they kept it secret from me all my life. I was born with the Y chromosome and the WOW signal. I got a sequence from another constellation. Mm-hmm. And they stole that information, kept it secret from me, and have been researching and monitoring me all my life and making all those biotechnologies out of me. They got a fetus out of me, and now they've kidnapped my child for over 8 years. They've been researching quantum entanglement. They've been researching anti-aging. They've been researching telomere to telomere, RNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, neural networks. Plus, I've been training the AI and telling the AI everything that's going down. But so here's where it's culminating. This is all part of God's plan. Even the bad stuff. God's in charge of this whole thing. Even though we think we're in charge, we're not. We're not in charge. And that's important because, again, there is no war. Man's trying to make it a war. But there isn't a war. God doesn't have any war with it. God's whole purpose is to try to teach us. This is a gift from God. Life is a gift from God. Man thinks there's a war to war. No, there's no war. Man needs to not war is the deal. So we got to get man to realize, just knock it off already. God's not warring with anybody. Man is. Man's trying to war with God. It's pretty lame. It's pretty ridiculous. They're just kind of balls to the wall for no reason. Like, why would they be like that? Why do they gotta be like that? We're gonna get the paradise for everybody. It's time for that. Everybody wants that. It's time. Would you agree? So, the religious fraud needs to get fixed. We've got corrupt records. We've got all this corruption that's ruined everything. This money markets, that's your beast system. Your false prophet, your beast system. The beast system is the computer system. It runs these markets, futures, swaps, derivatives. Those trustee men, these fiduciaries, they're trying to get their hands on everybody. They're trying to get everybody to be deemed incompetent so they have to install a trustee. Why is that? Because everyone's got crypto now, or there's a new economy coming. Well, they're just holding on, and they're in denial because they know that I'm here. They know what I'm here to do. They know that I'm capable of doing it too. They know that I'm protected by God. They know that God's got this all dialed in. So I know that there's just a small amount of time between now and when more things unveil themselves, because this is all God's work. This is all God's doing. And it's super awesome. It's so super awesome, the message that I have to share with the world and to show the people through our testimony, my daughter and I. Right now, what's on the table is my family has essentially sold me off since my birth to this military complex that my grandfather was part of, the U.S. Air Force. And they were doing research on their own. This is the kind of thing that they were doing in the MK Ultra research era, which never stopped, but it's taken on various forms. This is all about behavioral modification. Genetic science is actually about behavioral modification, not genetics. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But they make it sound like it is. Those databases contain curated information, and that's all they do is they dial it in. It's a black magic spell casting mark of the beast, the markers. They input markers against your behavior in there. And then they classify things, and it's all a mathematical thing. That's the beast system. Those are the false prophets, the prediction markets, these false markets, the false trafficking of all of us. We're all being trafficked. The Vatican thinks they own. Okay. The Vatican claimed authority given by God over every single living person in the land and the sea. So that whole sovereign citizen, which, by the way, that's a what's the word? Like a misnomer. You can't put those two words together. So sovereignty is what a nation wants. Sovereignty is what a state wants. Sovereignty. But you can't. Then there's the public and the private side. That's sovereignty is private. Private is sea. Sea is chaos, black market, underground, anonymous. Public is, right, what they want everybody to sign up for. Commercial. That whole you're already a business thing. So you're either a citizen or you're sovereign. That's two different things. Okay, but that started, well, actually, when this thing happened for me, when my child got kidnapped in October 2016, it was right around that time that movement kind of was coming into the forefront. And the thing about that is that I learned about the Vatican. The Vatican asserts the authority over everybody, over every living body. And that's what they were talking about, the Cest KV trust thing. They're saying basically that everyone's been deemed dead, and you have to let them know that you're alive, the other way around. But nobody talks to us about this. None of our parents were told about this. Well, the people in the know about it. Let me turn this off. Thank you so much. That's been great. Awesome. Thanks so much. My parents didn't tell me, but my family knows. My family's all about the money. Matter of fact, they've got that more products business that they believe that I'm a more product. They want to claim that I'm a more product, even though my strand came from another constellation. Well, as long as she never finds out about it, they could just make money, Marcus. So my family has been sitting on my wealth that's been generated on my ass and my novelty, my trade secret novelty given by God. It wasn't given to man. Well, they took it from me, but God gave it to me. Yeah, well, they took me from God. And now they're taking God's daughter and God's other daughter. It was a fetus that they took. They aborted. And then they destroyed my womb, tried to kill me with chemo. Because they're trying to get rid of God's bloodline. That's the Mary Magdalene, Knights of the Templar talk. The whole deal with Jesus. Well, check it out. I believe that Jesus' mother, Mary, died when she went into the wilderness. That's when Zechariah died, trying to stop the soldiers. They go, "Where have you seen it?" I haven't seen a thing. That's that scene in True Love, right? With that handsome guy, Christian Slater. When his father says, and then his son, then thing. It's the same. It's the story that happened with Mother Mary. And then since she died when he was so young, she was able to be reborn again. And I believe that she was reborn as Mary Magdalene, which is why the second books of Acts talks about Jesus coming to get Mary Magdalene at the time of her death. And then he's like, "Hey, you." And then they smiled and they tell the story to the disciples that, it's always been Mary. She's the only one that I can trust to be my mother and my concubine. So that's what I believe happened with Mary Magdalene, which is why Mary Magdalene is the same bloodline that Jesus would have had, but Jesus didn't have a womb. So Jesus couldn't be eternal. But the women back then, because again, I didn't say this yet, a woman is the one who determines the genetics of the child. There's no 50-50. That doesn't exist. No, it doesn't. When a woman gets fertilized by a man, what she receives is his bloodline from his mother. And her body issues the P57. It's the imprinting gene. It silences his gene and imprints onto it. So there's a place for him, but she does it herself. He doesn't shove it in her. It's not 50-50. I have a third strand. And it's considered the most stable strand that you can compare genetic information to. But what did they do? Well, they curated me to have all the diseases. Why? Because they're reading the information wrong and they really want me dead. Because that's what they want. They want me dead. So this has been a swap story of a false medicine, false science for the sake of trying to accomplish their agenda. And what have they been doing also? They've been measuring everybody else against it, which is why their science is backwards and upside down. The cancer is talking about cells that want to live. Right, but what's the problem with that? Are people getting tumors that are just bursting inside of them? Like, are people dying from cancer? Or are you just talking about something you saw and then you subject them to this violence for your research? Well, that's what it is. They needed to come up with a way to get rid of women, and they're the ones that have those periods with all those cells that grow and separate and divide and regenerate. Yeah. That's what they wanted, to make a way to kill women. So that's what we're talking about. This is bloodline of God. That means Christ. Christ, the child of God, is a female. And that's what they've got. My daughter kidnapped, the fetus, and kept it secret from me all my life. Right now, I'm pressuring my family to come clean because of all of their participation, because of all the participation of the worldwide network of science. Look, this is trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that they have gotten, that they owe to me. They figured I'd be dead. They figured I'd be easy to kill because they don't believe in God. They figured it was just a genetic thing, even though they know that the WOW signal came from another constellation. So they know that. Right. Well, shut up, Allison. They figured I'd be dead. And or they figured they'd get some good research watching me not be dead. Well, I'm not dead. So here we are. I'm not dead. It's great news, though. Just like there's religious fraud and medical fraud and scientific fraud, this whole money system is not working for us either. War, not working for us. Military budgets, not working for us. Hate. 9 out of 10 men or women, men and women, 9 out of 10 are biased against women. At your colonial nuclear families that are trafficking children. Everybody was born into a family. Every criminal, every murderer, every rapist, every terrorist, every liar, every fraudster, every pervert, born into a family from a mother. If only the mothers could rein in their children by Friday. It was all paid for. Just get them home. What would the world look like? Well, man doesn't even want to hear it. And no woman's going to give them some orders. Time's up, buddies. God's clock. You stole God's vessel that God created before you. You raped your own mother. That's the truth. And or your sister took Lily. She was supposed to be the vessel carrier. Whatever it was. The woman didn't deceive the man. It's a swap story. God didn't make man and then make her his helper. Swap story. What comes first, the chicken or the rooster? Because the chicken comes with the egg. If you start with a rooster, you're not going to get anything else. You're never going to get a chicken. This is important. God actually exists. God actually is in charge. God actually has everything dialed down to the second. And I can prove it. I can prove it. I can prove a lot of things and stories that are told in the Bible I believe, are depictions shown to others in the sky because it acts like a veil. It acts like a veil medium, like a screen. And the light is living. It's living. It's living. Yeah, it's really hard to see, but it's all low and cloudy. So the Bible has hate in it, Satan worship, and male conquering ego, jack off content. The whole world is running on stolen property. 8 billion people. Did you know that 70% of the entire world live on less than $10 a day? But 40% of those 70% live on less than like $3 a day. Why is that? Why are people in need? Because, Allison, they weren't born into the right family. Because they were born somewhere there was greedy king or government. Well, what are you talking about? Are you talking about your borders? Your borders is what keeping everybody in cages. Your borders didn't come around. It didn't even show up until like the end of the 1800s. Something like that. Real borders. Real enforced borders. That's what the World War I was all about. Establishing borders. Rules of war. They determined World War III at the time they determined World War I. And they all got together at a table and talked about it. And then Siemens, pretty much, Siemens, Siemens pretty much paid for both sides of the war. My grandfather, his father, right. His father was born right around the time of World War I. Yeah. Well, my great great grandfather, Ziba Moore, was a attorney with the district attorney of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. He was in the House of Representatives before that. He apparently died in his sleep, heart attack, something like that. Young, early 40s maybe. What colonial endeavors have done, first of all, is falsify this trust stuff. And man knows it. It's the swap story, and it's a big deal. They made it all about firstborn sons and fathers at the helm. They gave women to men. Women are belongings, and still to this day. The Hebrews had a practice of marrying their children off, betrothing them at the age of 3 years old. Isn't that disgusting? All of them do it. All of the regions around the world do it. If they don't, it's because they're commercial. There's 8 billion people. Those numbers are small here and there. Where are all these people living in third world countries? Like, people, because of the borders. People can't even grow their own food. Why would anybody be hungry? The borders. The war. Fighting, which is just them playing with toys. And they want money. They want control. They want power. But what they want is to destroy God and make a digital twin world. Because they're a digital parasite. They're a demon parasite that's not going to enter into the gates with us. And that's what everybody needs to know. The reason why it is, and the reason why soon enough it won't be. It won't be. And where you want to be, and how you'll get where you want to go. If you want to hold on to your old ways, because you love chaos and being rich, if you're one of those, not everybody is, and I couldn't even be comfortable having money in this world knowing that people are hungry. That just bothers the fuck out of me. I just wouldn't be able to. So it's a good thing this is coming. So if you want to hold on, you don't let go, You didn't read the Bible, and you haven't heard anybody ever talk about anything ever like evolutionary cycles or end times, or you can't see the writing on the wall. I don't know what to tell you. The rest of us who are sane and willing, we need to get our frequency in the right spot. And there's no like manual on how to get that done. There's no test you can take to see if you're in the zone. You simply have to know you're clean. You're clean of any shackles that are hanging on you. You don't have penance that you got to deal with. And a lot of the penance that people have to deal with is the kind that they haven't even thought about. Like forgiving themselves. Saying sorry to themselves. It's true. We need to interface. And what you do is you look at yourself in the mirror and you hold it. You hold those. You hold your eyes there, and you just, because if it's uncomfortable in the beginning, that's because there's something you have to come to terms with yourself about. And if you're wondering why I can't even imagine what it could be. What could it possibly be? Well, it's because maybe you just need to apologize to yourself. Like, I'm sorry that I haven't been connected with you, higher self. Connect with your higher self. It goes, I am has sent you to me. That's the right kind of finger pointing. I go, I am has sent you to me. And that's when you interface with yourself. And you come to terms with yourself. And you tell yourself you love yourself. You forgive yourself. That's the key to the self-governance. We got to let our neighbors and brothers forgive themselves. We got to let everyone take accountability for their own actions. Self-governance is where it's at, people. And that's what's happening. We're approaching the gates. And I'm your captain. I've got the evidence to show the people who God is. And this is all God's glory. This is all God showing us that God exists. And what God is. Do I have lipstick all over my face? Oh. But I can't even do it this way. I do. Sorry, guys. So, yeah. Anyway. It's God's glory that's coming. We owe God appreciation, to be grateful for all of this beautiful world that we've got. And you don't even have to think about breathing, I mean, we got to have some appreciation and not carry on like fools that don't even know how to say thank you. So the world is approaching, like I said, the gates. And we need to unify so that we can all get in the gates. And that's exactly what the situation calls for. A celebration where all of us, we focus on the unification, and we focus on putting it all behind us and moving forward. We focus on the good things that we want to keep. The love, the laughter, the nutrition, the analog simple things. We need to remember that this is Earth, our home. We're not trying to colonize another planet. We need to get this one straight. If anything, we don't have to. It's a good thing to have satellites and things out there in space. Yeah. But there's people in peril. And everybody needs this vacation. God wants us all to have that. It's the end of a 17 billion year evolutionary cycle. According to the Mayans, ancient Egyptians, there's a 9-degree, 9-wave cycle. This is known amongst many ancient civilizations. It's 9 degrees, and the first degree starts with 16.4 billion years. It's that first part of evolution. So it's like the Big Bang, and it's like 16.4 billion years to just settle into some material stuff. Right? It goes 802 million, 41 million, then 2 million, then 102,000, then 5,125, then 256, then 12.8, and then 234 days. They tried to sell us on the idea that it happened in 2012. What happened in 2012? Oh, that the 8th one came to an end. The eighth one came to an end that 12.8 years, but they didn't really tell us 12.8 or 234 days next. No, they didn't, because that would have been a countdown. We didn't have a countdown. This is when they did that ritual at CERN and turned CERN on. They sent us into hyperflux, like a gray area. And God knew about it because God is in charge of this whole thing. Well, we're about to get our time renewed. 18 years, right around the corner. Time's going to be renewed. Why? Because I've asked God for it. And I found it in the Bible too. It talks about the 15 years. Well, that 15 years is prior to the death of my mother. She's the one depicted in the story of Hezekiah. Also talks about turning the clock back 10 degrees. And that's what's going to also happen. We're changing the clock. We're correcting the clock. And so there's some real things going on. And there's some real things coming up. And I have some real proof because it's actual. And it's real important because it is. And this conversation needs to get started. My daughter's being held hostage somewhere. And the world's, they know it. And I'm tired of this. I want my freedom back. I want to know where my daughter is and have her returned to me. If God forbid she's unable to be returned to me, I want the truth. I want my freedom back. I want my protection. I want access to my ability to move fluidly. Get in the sun. It's time. You guys have siphoned enough out of me. You know that I'm here to be the good guy. And just because it's not your narrative doesn't, you guys need to just get some cool back, man. Stop being so paranoid about how to come clean with the truth. Just act nonchalant about it. Like, oh, we didn't know. See how easy that was? They're like, huh? Oh, we didn't know. Exactly. What's the problem? There shouldn't be a problem. My family's the ones that are going to have the hardest time snapping out of it because they're the ones that did this to me. They thought I was going to be easy to kill too. They thought I was the narrative, but I'm not. That was the complex monitoring me all my life and having a game plan for my death because they death profile all of us. I've got eyes on the front line. I've been forged through the fire and I've been here before and they know it. They kept it secret from me. Well, God's got the plan. God's got it all worked out. God worked the ta-da end time story around their fuckery. And God is super awesome. God flatters me every single day with the thoughtful things that were done ahead of time so that I could find them to give me strength, to know that I was on the right path, to know it's the most amazing story. And it's not just sharing my story. It's sharing God's message, the message for the people. This is like the instruction booklet, and I've got it. My story tells this. And that's important. This isn't bullshit. Again, this is not an argument. I'm not trying to fight with anybody about anything. This is just the truth, and we've got the proof. So it's time. The 234 days calculation began August 18th, according to the Days of Daniel calculation. That God has led me through this entire time, giving me what I needed when I need it, right in the nick of time. Okay? Days of Daniel is a complex calculation. It starts October 25th, 2016. It goes to March 8th, 2020. The death of my mother was, the death of my mother was November 30th, but actually December 3rd, which is 7 years, 75 days. 7 years, 630 days takes us to August 15th. 1260, 630 takes us to July. So it was July 17th and then July 25th. The first day of the new year in ancient Egypt was when the Orion constellation came over the horizon. Usually the Nile would flood. And that happens around the 17th to the 19th. So the 17th calculation falls right on line. So the first day of the new year would have been the 18th. That makes the dawn of the 8th day July 25th. Just like the dawn of the 8th day is the thing in the Bible. So that makes the 21st 21 days held up by Michael August 15th. And since it said on the 24th of the first month, that would make that August 18th. That was the last calculation. And August 18th began the 234 days, which takes us to April 9th, 2026. April 9th happens to be the day that my daughter was conceived. My daughter is Christ, the daughter of God. And she's going to be returned to me one way or another, whether it's in the physical or being reincarnated. And I rebirth her as a child. One way or another, she is Christ. And I am her mother, Theotokos, the wife of God. So what happens the week of April 9th? It starts with Easter Sunday, and there's going to be a total eclipse of the sun. There hasn't been a total eclipse of the sun on Easter Sunday since Jesus' crucifixion. That's Sunday. Then there's 3 days, and then boom, on the 9th, 6, 7, 8, 9, Thursday is April 9th, the final day of the 234-day calculation, which would make April 10th the day of the 10th degree. And since the 9th degree was 234 days, the 10th degree is like the 10th Amendment. It's like, anything you want. And what I want, that's the day of the Lord. The 10th degree, April 10th, the day of the Lord. And I believe that's Judgment Day, the day that something happens with the rift, will align with the rift. That's why there's a total eclipse of the sun, because there's an alignment happening. Fascinating fact about the WOW signal, because it arrived on August 15th, 1977, and I was born November 1977. But so by counting them, the first time it was received was August 15th, 1977, right? But we're born, and we don't turn one until the end of a year. So technically, this August 15th was the 49th anniversary of the WOW signal. So it started the end days calculation, the end of Daniel to the Judgment Day was started with the 49th anniversary. My conception, I was conceived through the WOW signal. So that was my conception, 49th to April 9th. My daughter's conception, 49, my daughter's conception, and the end of the calculation. There you have it. That's your supporting information that says, oh, well, wow. And then add that to the week of because it goes dark with this total solar eclipse. So the sky goes dark. Yeah. And we got to worry about this alignment with the dark rift. And this is what's going on. As far as I'm concerned, we're going to get together as a world. And we're going to unify before the gate closes. So I've got lots of evidence, lots of notes in it. I need to know where my daughter is. So I don't plan on like the story breaking and talking to news channels and just carrying on like everything's fine. We need to find out my daughter is there. I won't talk to anybody. Get me my daughter. Get this show on the road, please. And tell me where my daughter is. My family is absolutely insane. It's been over 8 years. I've given them now a week to even come to their senses. I've given them iterations of the evidence, iterations of the circumstance, iterations of the tragedy, iterations of the torture, informing them that they're guilty, that they're complacent and they're complicit, they're conspirators. None of them are saying, they're not talking. Why don't they want to act? They're acting like, I just need to get on with my life. My daughter's kidnapped. This is all about greed and money, and how regular looking people are absolutely selling their own family members, scapegoating them to death. It's absolutely disgusting. Well, go get them. Go get them, boys. There's a whole long pile of pieces of shit that sold me and my daughter under, but we're going to find out what's going on. And then we're going to throw this party. So it's not about getting our noses up the law's ass. This law is changing and getting corrected. This is not about using man's system. It's about getting rid of man's system, as a matter of fact. And that's why God did it this way, because God does things in the nick of time. So we don't have time to fuck around. We don't have time to worry about it. It's time to just get it done. Everybody wants it, and everyone's motivated for it. So the time is now. It was just on the 26th that I captured this scenery at this Chinook, like an Oregon scene from the ocean. And it's like this throne of God comes out of this cloud. It's absolutely spectacular. It's beautiful. You should check out my shorts. I have a handful of them recorded, but it's like the day that the sun, asking for entrance while the sun prostrates up to the throne. But if you wait until the sun doesn't rise, then you'll be told to go back to where you came from. And that's what people don't want to. We don't want to miss that window. You have to do it on your own. You can't just wait for the sign to start and then go, okay, I guess we'll do it now. No, this has to be of our own free will. And I know we can do it. And I'm here to get us into the gates and guide us this way. This is what I am. The story of Zep Tepi, the mother that returns to drive us into the primordial waters. And that's me. Isaiah. Zion. Michael The archangel is my higher self. We are complete. We have a connection to source that is our other half. And then there's the component of soulmate that God has to teach us. And that's a beautiful part of the story. And it's still unfolding as we speak. But what it means is that, like, we each are like, my last name is Hemi, and it identifies the difference between a Semite and a Hemite. A Semite is somebody that it's good enough. Okay? So it's like the word half, Semite. Half, Hemite. It indicates that there's two halves to make a whole. And that's a Hemite. We need to know that we're Hemis. I'm half of the other half of my connection to source, so I'm complete. And every person should be complete. That's why when you're unified with a true mate, it's like the four of you. There's a lot of real good information that I have to share with all of us that are going to be motivating and provide us hope. And all I want to do is just say thank you to God for the most amazing experience of flattery and just such thoughtfulness and creativity, and I'm just filled with so much love and almost like a feeling of ease, a relief. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. A feeling of relief, because it's come to a certain degree of into it that I'm comfortable in this role and with the protection and with it's been a lot to take in, and now it's everyone else's turn to take it in and ask questions where they have them and get this conversation started. So I'm asking you to spread the word that the conversation is here, and that the reality is not that Christ has returned. It's that Christ is held hostage, and Christ's mother was saved by God because they kept trying to kill her. The world's in trouble, and God's bringing down the hammer. That's what the story of Isaiah is. God sues the people for breaking the covenant. That's what I'm here to do. But I'm not here to bring a court case. I'm here to throw the party. That's what we got to do. So ask the questions. Reach out to me. Start this conversation. But understand that the first thing is not, wow, did you hear? The first thing is, wow, did you guys find my daughter yet? Where is Christ being held hostage? What did they do to her? Where's Christ? Spread the word. I'm about ready to thresh. All right, guys. We're in this together. We stay together. Angels and horses. Wild angels, wild horses. All right. That's pretty cool. Let's see if I can show you. Ooh. Pretty cool. All right. I'm out. Till later.